It's Powerback time on the Gutsy Podcast, your 20-minute boost to reclaim and refocus your energy. Get ready to have bursts of clarity, a boost of confidence, and the practical steps you need to make gutsy moves forward. You've got big things to do, so let's get your power back. You've spent months, years, or maybe even decades perfecting the skills and experience that you use today. I mean, you could probably do this stuff with your eyes closed, and people often come to you for guidance and advice around this thing. And while it's served you really well for a very long time, the problem is you're over it. This thing doesn't excite or ignite you anymore. In fact, it probably feels heavy. It's like you're dragging your feet on the ground or letting out a huge sigh every morning when you wake up, knowing that you have to go do it. Maybe you're just bored or uninspired. Maybe you have done every part of this and there's nothing left in it. But change? It's terrifying, isn't it? On today's Powerback episode, we're going to explore what your next steps are. Where do you go from here? Where do I even begin? All of this starts with owning your truth. I'm ready for something else. Now, I want to start by saying that I know that this can be a bit of a touchy subject. This is saying the inside thing outside. And I know that admitting that you want to change, admitting that you don't want to do this anymore is often met with, how am I going to do this? And what are people going to say? And just like this flood of emotions and questions and heightened energy. So I want you to know that you don't have to do anything today. You don't have to make a decision today, but you're listening to this episode because there was something about those first few words that I said that's resonating with you. And that tells me that there's something in you, in your life, that you're feeling called to change. You're feeling uninspired. You're feeling burnout. You're feeling like, I've done all of it. I don't feel excited about this anymore. I'm tapped out. Maybe you've just achieved all that you wanted to achieve. And it's like, there's nothing left. Like the spark for what once was is no longer there. And this could be in your current job. This could be the business that you've built. This might be your relationship, a friendship, something in your world. Like it doesn't have to just be a job. It very well could be, but it could be anything. And so I encourage you just simply to stay open throughout this. Okay. You don't have to tell anybody about this. You don't have to commit to anything, but there's something in here that we're kind of scratching at. Okay. There's something that you're feeling called to shift, or maybe you're just like, you know what? Fuck it. I am ready to do the thing. Laura, tell me how to do the thing. And maybe you're somewhere in between. Okay. I just want to let you know that this episode is really here to help you solidify maybe some of the thoughts and the feelings that you have been spinning around for a while. And one of those things is likely, I have been doing this for a long time. Like, this is what I'm good at. This is what my skills are in. This is what my experience is in, my background. This is what I know how to do. I could shut my eyes and go to sleep and still be able to do this thing. And so a lot of the feelings that come along with this change is, why would I change what I already know? There's comfort in what I already know. Do I want to start all over again? What would I do instead? I have no idea what I want. This is literally what I've always known and done. I hear this a lot, especially with women, my age. If I change this, if I go after a new job or go into a new relationship, no one's going to want me at this age. That's such a big thing that I hear now. What are people going to think? My income relies on this, right? Like it's rarely just I don't want to do this anymore, so I'm just going to change it. It usually has legs. Right? It's got roots. This has been in your world for a while. And especially if your safety and security relies on this, if your social life is built around this, if this is where you've invested so much of your energy for the last couple of years or maybe even decades, listen, if you're feeling fucking terrified, you're right on the money. Okay. Like very rarely is it like, oh, I'm excited and I'm not scared and everything's perfect. And now I'm going to change everything that I've ever known. No, like fear is going to be part of this. Change in any capacity is often very terrifying. It's new, it's different, it takes you out of your comfort zone, it puts you in spaces and places that you're not used to, it asks you to change something about your habits or the way that you show up. Change is change. Why do you think that most people end up just dealing with it? Settling. Because it feels easier. It's familiar. You know how to do it. You're really good at it. You don't really have to think much about it. It just happens. All the while, there's a part of you that is like, please free me. Please, can we change this? I don't like this routine anymore. I don't like this career anymore. I don't like providing this service anymore. I don't like the way that I feel in my relationship. In fact, I haven't felt that good in the last 18 years. You deserve to feel fulfilled. And if there is something that is scratching at you, that is pulling at you, that is saying, hey, there's discomfort in this, but not because I'm challenged anymore, but maybe because I'm not. This isn't helping me to creatively grow anymore. I'm not using my critical thinking in a way that I know that I am capable of. I'm not exploring new things. I'm not gaining new information. I'm just going through the motions. You are so much more than going through the motions. And I want you to hear me very loudly and very clearly that whatever you're feeling is communicating with you. And I want and need and just hope with every ounce of my soul that you trust this. You don't have to have it all figured out today. We're not going to have it all figured out today, okay? I'm going to give you some things to work on, some things to consider, some one next steps. But you don't have to have it all figured out in order to start making a shift. Leaving a job that you've been at for 15 years is a little bit unnerving, okay? Like if you've been a nurse for 15 years and that's everything that you've ever known, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to be a nurse anymore, you're not going to have that figured out tomorrow. Part of this evolution and this shift is taking the death grip off of the steering wheel. I'm not asking you to just wail your hands around and hope for the best. I'm just saying that this evolution requires your openness. It requires your curiosity. And I know, don't punch me in the face, please. It requires your patience. It's really tough, especially when you're at the end of something, when you know that you're freaking done. Like every ounce of you just wants to avoid it and you're just irritated and like it's gnarly energy, right? When I ask you to be patient in that type of energy, you're like, double birds, Laura, like F off. Please don't talk to me. But it's that space. If you can harness that energy, if you can get grounded, you can get clear and you move with intention, friend, this is going to serve you so much better than just being pissed off every day. Let me give you a little bit of an example of this. You may have heard me share this story before, but I think it's relevant with this. I spent 22, 23 years in the design world. Okay. I went to college for graphic design. Well, if we go back even further, all of my classes in high school, all of my electives were art. Okay. Design, painting, drawing, ceramics. I've been doing art since I could pick something up. So all through high school, I'm doing art. I go to college. I get a degree in graphic design. I go back to college and get a bachelor's degree in graphic design. I start an agency. Okay. After I worked at the Yellow Pages designing ads in the phone book, I started an agency. I grew that agency for 16 years. I had a team. We had clients, the whole thing. We had earned hundreds of awards, paper awards, shiny awards. We went to ceremonies. I spoke on branding. I mean, branding and design was my life. It was what I was known for. It's what my skills and my background were in. It's how I fed my family. It's how I paid our mortgage. Like this, my identity was wrapped up in this. To be honest with you, I thought I would run this business until the day I left this planet. And then I might even do it from the afterlife. Okay. I loved this until I did not. I started to notice that I didn't want to do the work. I didn't want to go network and meet new people. I was not hungry to put out social media content, right? I started to pull back at things. And that was one of my first indications that something was changing, was the ambition and the drive that I once had was no longer there. In fact, it was reactive. it was pulling back. It was kind of like the low tide of the ocean. It wasn't super obvious, but over time I could start to notice that the gap got larger. I wasn't showing up with it as much. I wasn't talking about it as much. My ambition to grow it was not there. To do new things, to create new campaigns, to expand it, to take it to the next level, gone. Like non-existent, which was so bizarre because at one point that was everything. That's where all of my energy went. It was exciting. It was fulfilling. There was just so much energy around it. But now it's like the energy was dead. And at first I was like, you know what? We're just having a thing. Okay. I'm in a funk. Maybe I'm in my luteal phase. Maybe the moon's being stupid. Maybe Mercury's in retrograde, whatever. Like there's a million other reasons than where I was headed. But it just got bigger. It got louder. My resistance to doing it grew. And one of my big turning points was I was asked to speak at a women's conference, which normally I am running to the front of the line saying yes. But they asked me to speak about branding, and my whole body just shut down. I could feel the retraction. I could feel my energy draining out, and I ultimately turned it down. And that sent me down a path of internal exploration to figure out, what is this all about? Why am I not wanting to talk about the thing that I know so incredibly well? And it turns out I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be known for branding anymore. I have achieved everything that I wanted to achieve. I don't feel ignited by this. This chapter of my life and career is trying to come to a close. But am I going to allow it? That was the big question. Am I going to follow through with this? Am I really going to make the gutsy move to change every single thing that I've ever known and worked towards to pursue something completely different? I was just talking to a new friend of mine, Carolee Moore from the Podcast Pitching Society, and we were sharing similar stories today. And she said, I built the dream and then the dream ate me. And I could not relate to that anymore because I built that first business off the backbone of my insecurities. I learned so much about myself in great ways and in very, very gnarly, awful ways. But ultimately, I kept going. And I think that there's something to say about keep going. I think there's something about really pursuing every ounce of what you have and exploring every nook and cranny and looking in every corner and trying new things. And I think it's also incredibly brave and incredibly gutsy to say, I'm finished. There's nothing to prove. I don't have to continue to do this. I have options, even if it doesn't look like it right now. And you know what? I'm willing to figure out where my next spark is. As the story goes, you may know, I ended up selling the agency. I left the design industry completely as a whole, and now my time and my energy is focused full-time on speaking and coaching. I could probably teach a masterclass on how to make big, scary ass decisions at this point because I've done it more times than I would probably prefer to say that I have. But what I've learned is every single time that you follow that curiosity and you give yourself permission to figure it out, even when you don't know what's next, something amazing is on the other side of it. You see, you're at this crossroads where am I going to continue to do what I've known, or am I going to get uncomfortable for a little while? And am I going to explore and find what my next new thing is? Look, change is rarely easy and it's never perfect. Okay. It doesn't make people happy or comfortable. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can move forward. So much of the fear is wrapped up in what everyone else is going to think and also the logistics. And I get it. If your safety and security, if this is how you pay your bills, if your identity is wrapped up in this stuff, it's not a flip of the switch. It's not I'm going to change this tomorrow and everything's going to be done and perfect. So how do you start to make that move? That's always the $1 million question, isn't it? How do I figure out what my next thing is if I have no freaking clue what that is? What is my one next step? How do I start to shift what I have known for freaking ever in a day? Well, you know I like to give you some practical shit to work with. So that's what we're going to do now. This is a good time, if you're safely able to grab a pen and paper, because this is going to be some journaling stuff. This is introspective, okay? This is where you begin. The very first thing that I want you to really sink into is why. Why are you craving this change? Why do you want to do something different? And some questions that you can tap into that is like, what are you missing in your life right now? What is this no longer feeding? What do you feel like you're lacking? Maybe you're not being challenged anymore. Maybe there's no zing or excitement. Maybe you're not feeling like there's any growth opportunities in this. Maybe you've tapped out. Maybe you're missing fulfillment or joy or that spark that I mentioned earlier. When I think back to the last year, maybe 2 years of the agency, there was no spark. There was, I'm going to do this because it needs to be done. And I had to decide that this is not how I want to live the rest of my life. I don't want to do this for another 20 or 30 years because it needs to get done. I want to do something that challenges me in a new way, that feels exciting, that allows me to use the new skills that I've been cultivating in the background, which for me was speaking. My personal why did I want this change? Because I didn't love what I was doing anymore. And there was a new skill that I could not use because I did not have the time or the ability. I felt trapped. I wanted to do one thing, but I had to do another. Oh, I wanted to do one thing, but I had to do another. So you know what I was doing? Every single day, bumping up against the fork in the road and choosing to do what I knew. Now, this is where that patience comes into play. Because once you figure out why you want to do this, why is this change calling you? Why do I want something more or different? Then comes in our friend patience. Because once you figure this out, I don't know if you're like me, but once I make a decision, I'm ready to go. Because by the time that I've made the decision, that means that I have thought about it, slept on it, walked it out, hashed it out loud for like a long period of time. Weeks, months, sometimes years, yes. So when I decide, it's because this thing has already grew legs behind the scenes. It's already living and breathing. So when I'm ready to do the thing, I'm ready to do the thing. And my patience loves to challenge that. Because once you decide, once you really like connect with, hey, I want to change this and here's why. Now we have to have the patience and also the discernment to stick with it as we're making this evolution. And honestly, part of that, and this is the next thing, is owning that you're allowed to want something new. Owning that you are allowed to want something new. It doesn't matter how much time, money, effort, energy, reputation, everything that you've put in it. I don't care how long you've done it, whether it's been 6 weeks, 6 months, or the last 60 years of your life. If you are finished, if you are done, if you are no longer ignited, this isn't your thing anymore, you're allowed to want something new. You did not waste your time. You did not throw things out the window. You didn't lose part of your life. You gained everything that you need for this next step, for this next new thing that you're going to explore. Permission that you don't need, but maybe need to hear. Your interests change over the years. Like the things that you were into when you were 12 have probably evolved today. Your personal needs grow and evolve. Your professional needs grow and evolve. You are not the same person today as you were 6 months ago. And you're most certainly very different than what you were pre-COVID. So why are we holding on to the belief that you're not allowed to change this thing? This pull that you have for changing your job, your business, your relationship, your health, it's here because you're ready for it. Even if you're at the starting line, you have to start somewhere. Remember, you mastered the thing that you're doing right now by starting. So if you're already jumping into the how and the when and the who and all those details, remember the thing that you've mastered today, you were once new at. You were once at day one. You were once brand new in a classroom, the first person in line at your new job. You were once brand new standing at a conference in the lunch line, meeting somebody new for the first time. The only way that you've mastered what you have now was by starting. And so if you've done it once before, my friend, you most certainly can and will do it again. And dare I say, maybe even a little bit easier this time. You're older, you're wiser, you have more experience, you have an incredible skill, you know more people. Like, could it be possible that this goes a little bit smoother? Not saying that it's without challenge. Listen, I went through a dip. After leaving the agency, I went through a dip. I had to figure things out again. It was a whole brand new world for me. But you know what? I was ignited again. I was excited. I had the energy. I had the drive. I wanted to learn. I wanted to grow. I put myself in rooms that I was uncomfortable in because it was feeding the new thing that I knew was time for me. So much of this is letting go of the guilt and the expectations that come around how much time and energy you've put into this, and really truly owning that you're allowed to want something new. Now, there's a couple of questions that I know arise. So I'm going to do a little bit of rapid fire here because we could spend some time. Okay. If this is something that you really want to dig into and hash out more, Auraline, the mastermind, would be a phenomenal place to get some more one-on-one and group support through this. So if you don't have anybody in your world that you can talk about this with, that can help you see what you can't see, to help you really pinpoint what your next steps are, simplify the shiznit out of it so that you can move forward, and also hold you accountable, right? Making sure that we're making those steps forward. I'd absolutely love to support you inside of Auraline. So if you go to LauraAura.com/mastermind, you can either sign up today, or if you want to explore it a little bit more, there's a link to book a clarity session with me. We can talk it out and figure out if this is your right next move. But for the sake of time and to get your wheels moving, okay, these are intended to be some seed planting questions to get you moving. Let's do a little rapid fire. So one of the questions is, what do I do instead? I have no idea what else I would do. I'll go back to the example that I used earlier. Let's say you've been a nurse for 15 years. You don't want to be in the medical field anymore, but you have no fucking clue what you would do instead. Listen, that's real. Okay. That is a real fear. That is a real thing to bump up against. And what I would absolutely suggest for you to do, whether it's the nursing thing or whatever your personal shift is, if it's not the thing that we're honing in on, right? The next career, the next industry, I want you to really start focusing on, what do you want to shift in your life? And what I mean by that is, maybe you're wanting to leave the nursing industry because the 12-hour shifts, the being away from your family, the not sleeping well, the not eating well, maybe all of this is really taking a toll on you. And so what I want is more time. I want some more time off. I want to be able to travel more. I want to be in an atmosphere that is way less stressful, right? I'm in a phase in my life where I want ease. I want predictability. I don't want things that are all over the place and crazy half the time. This is a really good place to start, is looking at what are the characteristics or the traits or the things about my current job or situation that I don't want to carry forward. Because if you can identify what those things are, as you start to explore then, looking at different industries, looking at different jobs, talking to people, experimenting, just seeing what's out there, you can start to align that next step with the things that you do want. Because if you know what you don't want, you can then also identify what you do want and let that be your guiding compass to making the decision that supports your next move. I mean, there's also some tangible things you can do, like personality tests or career testing. There's all kinds of tools and tricks out there. So if you're really honing in on a career change and you're not sure what that is, please focus on what you don't want and what you do want, and then maybe explore one of those tools. The next thought/question is, this is everything I've ever known. Like, this is the only thing that I'm good at. This can often trigger a fear because it's like, I don't know what I would do because I'm going to be new at something again. And this is where a lot of the pressure comes into play, is you want to avoid the discomfort of being new again. That's why a lot of people stay doing what they're doing or being in the same relationship, because it's familiar, right? We've talked about that a handful of times. What I would challenge you to do in this situation is actually just sit down and write out your skills. Because while there may be some textbook skills that you have learned, or maybe what a degree is in, or what you have just learned how to master, or you've got a certificate in, right? Yes, get those things down on paper. But I also want you to look at all the other skills that have come along the way. If you're a nurse, yes, you know the medical field, right? You know how to handle those situations. But you also have learned incredible critical thinking skills. You can think on your feet. You've learned organizational skills. You've learned communication skills. Like, there's so many more things that you've learned alongside the trade itself. And so if you're thinking like, I don't know what else I would do because I don't know what else my skills are, start with this. Start with actually looking at what your skills are. Because critical thinking from nursing could very easily fold into office management. Organizational skills could go into organizing people's homes or businesses. Like, there's a lot more avenues than your brain wants you to see because you're just so used to one track. So sit down and write, yes, the main skills that you know, but then I challenge you to branch off of that. What are the other things that you do or have learned? This can help spark a conversation with yourself or with a coach, or just to start illuminating some other paths that you didn't know were an option before. The next one, man, I hate that we even have to have this discussion, but my age. No one is going to want me. I work a lot with women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And this is such a huge fear, a huge shift of like, I've been in this for so long. I'm an old woman. No one's going to want me. They're going to see me and they're going to ditch me for the newer, younger, hipper, right out of school type of person. And is that happening? Absolutely. Is it shit? Absolutely. But here's what I want to say to you. We can't fix the system if we're not willing to challenge it. So if the assumption is because of your age or race or gender that you're not going to be hired, so therefore you don't even put your name in the ring to be considered, then we are enabling a system that is fucking us over. Look, I know it's freaking messed up. Like, we didn't create this system, but we always have to push back. We have to be the ones that challenge it, because if we don't, it continues, it grows, it becomes more mainstream, and it makes it so much more challenging for other women to get those jobs because no one else is doing it. It's hard to hear the no's. It's hard to not get those responses. I know that doesn't feel good, but if we are collectively challenging and saying, hey, I have a skill, I have abilities, I have dedication, I have experience, I'm here and I'm ready to show up and do the work. This is the energy that's going to challenge the system. We have to collectively push back. You're not irrelevant. You're a fucking asset. So if age has been a concern, I hope that this lit a fire under your ass to remind you that you have something to offer that some company somewhere is going to need, that someone out there is looking for in a relationship. You, my friend, are seasoned, and we could sure as hell use a little bit more flavor in this world, okay? I'll leave you with one last rapid fire here, and that is, what are people going to think? Listen, I thought about this question so many times when I was letting go of not just the agency, but also the building that we had told the entire community that we were building out. Like, we showed them photos of what the space was going to look like. People were on board, okay? There was a fear of, what are people going to think? How are they going to find me? Like, this is what I've always known. Are people going to think that I've lost my ever-loving mind? And what I came to the realization was it legitimately did not matter. Like, I could not afford to allow it to matter. And I'm not talking financially, I'm talking energetically. I was physically ill. My mind was all over the place. I was uninspired. Like, I was just draining. If I look back at pictures of me at that time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize how much life this was sucking out of me. And here I am worrying what Sam down the road might think, or what Kim might tell her group text message, or what Sally might say on Facebook. Fuck all of that. Like, none of them are coming to fix any of this. No one's coming to the rescue. No one's shifting my life for me. If I want something better for me, I have to be willing to do it. And I've got to be willing to do it regardless of what anybody else says or thinks. These people are not living your life. Okay? I don't care if they are your best friend, your neighbor, your colleague, somebody that lives in the same neighborhood, or maybe even some freaking keyboard warriors on the internet. None of those people are living in your physical body, experiencing what you're experiencing. And therefore, none of those people get a say in what you do and how you do it. You'll actually be really amazed at how many people you inspire to take action in their own life when they see you doing it. Like, there were so many people that reached out to me afterwards that were like, oh my gosh, that was really crazy, but it made me realize that I didn't have to keep doing this anymore, that I didn't want to do this anymore, that I wanted to change this, that I wanted to try something new. And it was like the permission that nobody needed, but needed to see modeled. And so my hope is maybe, just maybe, my story is that model for you, because you've been good at something for a long time, and yet you are allowed to change it. You're allowed to grow and evolve. There's something calling you for a reason. Are you going to answer the call? I know it's scary. Change is uncomfortable. It's a whole mixed bag, but all of that is temporary. All of that is temporary. When you choose to lean into the discomfort, when you make those gutsy moves, ultimately it leads you to where you need and want to be next. But choosing to not make the change, choosing to continue to force and make yourself to do the thing that you don't want to do anymore, is perpetual. It is ever going. It is ongoing for as long as you allow it to be. You don't have time for that, my friend, because your next phase of your life, your career, your business, your relationship, your health relies on you leaning into this discomfort and making that gutsy move. And remember, you don't have to do this shit alone. If you want to have the real conversation, if you want to peel back the layers that you can't peel back with anybody else, Auraline, the mastermind, I'm telling you, is the space to get down, to get dirty, to get clear, and to be divinely fucking supported in a way that you probably never have been before. If you're ready to make that move and you're just not sure what to do next, then go to LauraAura.com/mastermind, and you can either sign up right there, or if you're not sure and you just want to explore it a little bit more, you can book a clarity session. That's the best place to figure out what the next thing to do is. All right, my friend, this has been fabulous. If you have questions, of course, DM me as well. You can find me on all the social platforms using @thatLauraAura. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.